Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Unfiltered with Bridget and Angie. And today we have Nick Kaczmarek from 360 Painting joining us. Welcome, Nick. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your business?
Sure. Thank you for having me first. Was excited to get the opportunity to meet with you ladies. Yeah, Nick, 360 Painting. We do interior and exterior painting needs for uh, all of Dodge County. We cover everything from Madison to Oshkosh, so hence the name. I've been in the painting industry for going on 8 years, have owned our business for 4, and we're one of the few painting businesses in Wisconsin that's registered for lead-based paint mitigation. So, uh, yeah, we're excited to be here and excited to talk about painting needs pre and post sale.
Yeah, I think one of the hot topics you want to touch base on is lead-based paint. So here in Dodge County and surrounding counties too, we do a lot of FHA, like government-backed loans, and they care very much about shipping and filling paint, whether it's interior, exterior. Doesn't matter if it's a house, garage, shed, barn. They care about all of it because of the health risks that it poses. Can you just touch base on kind of why that's a big deal? Because I feel like most people would find it to be more of a nuisance than an actual like, well, why do I have to do that? Like I'm not gonna turn a windowsill kind of thing. So can you
Sure.
just touch base on what that is and kind of the process of it?
Sure. Yeah, so especially here in Dodge County and even in the counties north of us, lead-based paint is still a uh, very prevalent issue, just based on the age of the house, the communities. Uh, it's something that we still experience quite a bit. Lead-based paint, lead poisoning in general is nothing to be messed around with. We've experienced uh, interior and exterior where lead-based paint is prevalent. When it flakes off, peels off, if it's sanded down, that airborne dust and particulates can contaminate soil. It can contaminate the house, and it's especially poisonous to children under the age of 6. Uh, Adults, the ppm requirement for lead-based is much higher, but continued exposure can lead to some pretty serious illnesses. And if it's extremely high, it can be fatal. So it's definitely something that's should be taken serious. And that's, I think, why the government-backed loans are so in tune with the needs of those things being addressed. We've experienced a lot of lead-based paint on the exterior. Exterior, it's a little bit easier to deal with because of the environment. Interior-wise, there's more contamination. If you have lead-based paint or chipping paint in the home, it's easier for kids to get their hands on. It's easier to have their toys contaminated with, and quite honestly, it's people don't think about lead-based paint on the interior as much. They see peeling and chipping paint, and everybody just kind of gets drawn to the idea that if it's peeling, it's chipping, it's lead. That's not necessarily true, but you could have lead-based paint on the inside that's not peeling and chipping. And if someone goes through a home renovation without knowing that there's lead-based, they could be unknowingly contaminating their entire family. We had a client a couple months ago. They wanted to sand down their stairs, refinish their stairs to give it, a more modern look. And they started that and didn't take the proper measures to mitigate any kind of airborne dust in the house. And then a week later, their kids tested positive for lead poisoning, and they had twin girls, 3 years of age.
Wow.
and they tested, with high lead content in their blood. So it is definitely something that we take very seriously, and I think it's great that the FHA goes through that process to try to mitigate that.
FHA cares about the health and safety of the home. Like it's not just that. I mean, they just care. They want it to be safe for whoever's going to live there. Is the biggest.
And that's part of their health and safety inspection.
Right. And
that
now
they
and now
do.
we know why it's a big health issue.
Yeah,
It's not a safety issue. I mean, it can be, but it's more of a health issue for people.
and especially like kids under the age of 6, their bodies aren't developed enough to deal with that kind of exposure.
Is it
So
for seniors too, though? I thought like the elderly are a little bit more prone to.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's susceptible, right?
Yeah.
It's just the long-term effects of lead poisoning in children. It can stunt their growth. It's associated with neurological
Right.
issues. So I think that's something that I think they take more seriously because that's the longevity, of our generation or future generations. So that's, I think, to me, a huge issue. Having a child under the age of 5 currently, I when I got into this business and knew what the ramifications of, I was testing his toys, like hand-me-down toys and stuff like that you never know, right?
Did
And
you find one too? A toy that had lead-based paint? Wasn't like a train you were telling me about that you
Yeah,
found?
there was it was a toy that got handed down through our family, and it was a painted magnetic train set, and it had lead-based paint on it.
And kids put toys in their mouths.
It's not even just touch, like it can be absorbed through your skin, like touching that, kids putting their hands in their mouth after playing with that toy. It's something, I wasn't necessarily aware of until this point.
Very eye-opening.
But yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
Knowing that something that he was playing with pretty regularly could have had, long-term ramifications on his health. So yeah, I mean, it's that was kind of what pushed me to get certified in lead mitigation and understand the preparation that is needed. A lot of times when we experience a client that has or knowingly has lead-based paint in their house and is taking active measures to get it remediated, the amount of preparation that we have to go through, we have to have, air scrubbers in the home to make sure that we're, any dust that we are creating is being pulled out. Plastic wrapping everything, even just the cleanup aspect of what do we do with the waste that we create when we're doing that. And there's special equipment that helps us do that. We have expensive sanding equipment that helps pull that dust away from the environment. But as a second level of that, we make sure that everything's contained so that when we're all done, we can just bag up everything and dispose of it. And then same thing with the outside. There are certain methods that can't be employed that we would typically do, like power washing your home. Everybody's, if they're going through a repainting project on their house, everyone's like, oh, we got to wash it first. Well, with lead-based paint, you can't do that.
Why can't you wash it?
So a pressure washer, if you take a pressure washer to your house and you're using that to strip loose paint off.
Strip. Okay, use it to strip. Okay, now, yeah.
It's that the pressure from the pressure washer will blow those particulates everywhere.
Yeah.
So you have to, like if you're sanding it, you have to wet sand it. If you're, chipping it off, there's requirements for drop cloths being 10 feet or sometimes more away from the house, so that we're trying to contain all of that particulate that's coming off of the house, in a reasonable manner. Because it's important too. Like a lot of times in smaller neighborhoods, people plant gardens right alongside their house, and if that stuff is falling into the soil and they're digging in the soil, that all can lead to bringing that contaminant into the house and distributing it to others. Something that we're really cautious about too is for all of our guys when we're going into a lead remediation. gowning up, because we could be working on a house and we could take it home with us. And so there's definitely a lot of precautions and there's SOPs for handling those types of things for all of us, but we make sure that we're not creating the issue, we're removing it, and then also not taking it home with us. So
There's a lot involved.
it is, there are easier ways. There's, depending on the quality of the paint, that, if it's not peeling and chipping, there are methods to encapsulate.
I was gonna say, can you encapsulate it and just leave it alone and then not have to worry about it?
Yeah, if it's not in a degraded state, I would call it. A lot of times, if a health and service inspector comes in and determines that there is lead-based paint in the home and it's not peeling and chipping, you can encapsulate it and make sure that doesn't propagate out further into the home.
Okay. We need to catch that early then, basically, if that to kind of be, because if it's already chipping paint, you have to safely remove it to correct it. You can encapsulate chipping paint.
Yeah, well, and some of it, we can, if there's a mixture, right? Not all of it's peeling and chipping. You can remove the peeling and chipping stuff and then still encapsulate it. But
Okay.
the encapsulation is a more cost-effective measure to make sure that there's the contamination risk is not there.
Right.
But you're still not removing the hazard, right? So that's it's a short-term preventative, but it requires more maintenance, right?
Oh.
You have to keep up on the fact that if there's peeling and chipping paint, you have to get on top of that right away to make sure that it stays encapsulated.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, it's very rare. So I know that if I list a house or if I have a buyer looking to buy a house and the house was built before 1978, obviously we have to have the addendum S, which states all the safety concerns and information about it. And then our buyer, or the seller also has to, note if they are aware of any. But the buyer then has the option to test for lead-based paint or not test for lead-based paint. It's very rare that I have a buyer test for lead-based paint. But if I do have somebody that wants to test for lead-based paint, we call you, correct? Like we can call you, you can come test for it. And if it tests positive, you can then get rid of it, correct? And
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there, not only to get it tested, but also to understand. One of the things that I do pretty regularly is there's an at-home test kit.
Oh, okay.
It's a really quick, easy way to understand what we're dealing with. We will do that a lot with interior and exterior, just so that we know what we're dealing with. So if that little at-home test kit comes up positive, then we have to take additional measures to test it further. A quick swab is not a real official test. There's a lot of false positives that can happen with those at-home kits, but as a general step, it's something good for us to know before we go too far, to step back, take the proper precautions, and then move forward. So that's something at a very minimum, I would say is a necessity, just so you know what you're getting into. But if you do experience that, then it's okay. Now we need to make sure that it's an official test. Samples are taken and then sent to proper labs for a better understanding of what you're dealing with. But yeah, after that positive test, then you have a better picture of what has to be handled or what precautions need to be taken to dispose of it properly.
Okay. Is it safe to assume that any home built before 1978 probably has lead-based paint?
Yeah, there's some pretty obvious.
You got a picture too. We'll have that put up on the screen behind us, kind of show you a very obvious picture of lead-based paint.
Yeah, like I said, there's some very telling observations that can be had or made about the paint. Lead-based paint failures it's very telling. It has a very checkered type of pattern. We call it alligatoring. The paint, and this is more so on the outside of a home, but you can see similar failures on the inside as well.
I've seen on windowsills. That seems to be a popular spot for that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Windows, yeah.
And a lot of times those are the more prevalent areas because, those windows have a tendency to condensate. That moisture causes the paint to fail. And then when it does fail and breaks loose, it kind of breaks up in that checkered pattern. So those are definitely high. Doors, door frames, window frames. Those are the areas we see the failure the most, but that doesn't necessarily mean that if the failure happens that it's not lead-based paint or the other way around, really. I mean, my example of the stairs, there was no indication that the paint was failing or anything. They just didn't like the color. They didn't like the look of it and wanted to make it more modern and accidentally exposed their children to, pretty serious issue.
Well, should we move on to
now
happier news?
Something a little lighter.
Very deep, but it's very important to talk about it because people, I feel, find it to be more of a nuisance, and when they don't understand the true health issues behind it. So that's why we really want to get you on here to talk about that, to help educate people who are looking to buy homes, why it's a big deal.
And so one thing kind of a little bit lighter, the peeling and chipping paint doesn't always mean that it's lead-based.
Right.
But the FHA inspection, the other aspect of that, if they see failing and chipping paint, the concern is also that it might not be lead-based. It could be just latex. But if it's peeling and chipping, it's allowing for the wood underneath to be exposed, right? And the longevity of that means if that's not taken care of, that wood is exposed to moisture and it can rot and fail. And as a insurance to, the insurance companies and mortgages, they want to make sure that's taken care of so that over the life of the home, that is not a problem for the future. And that can, wood left unexposed can degrade very quickly. So
it's a safety issue at that point then.
And just a financial impact, right? It's, there's windowsills, again, is another, if you see, a lot of times the windowsill will collect moisture. So the paint on those areas just inevitably tends to fail faster.
Right.
And because the water sits up there, if not properly sloped and all that stuff, will cause the windowsill to rot out much quicker. And so, there's once that happens and the windowsill rots, then the water can get in behind there and cause further damage. And it just makes the home almost uninhabitable if it goes too far.
Right. And then talking about water, so you guys also do like interior painting. So I know you have issues if there's like water stains in people's ceilings or their walls or their sink overflows or anything like that. So do you guys do things with that as well?
Yeah. So anytime we enter a house, we're looking for those types of things. Areas where moisture is more prevalent, bathrooms, kitchens, that can cause staining. Depending on how much water is introduced, sometimes it can result in drywall damage or plaster damage. But a lot of times what we see is more just water stains. If above showers is really common. Sometimes it doesn't, it's just the steam from the shower that will collect on the ceiling, and then if not wiped down or dealt with clean, that will just stain the paint on the outside. Not necessarily getting into the drywall. So it's, something that can be dealt with just by priming and repainting the ceiling. We typically like to use a higher level sheen in bathrooms. Flat paints are more porous to give it that flat look. So flat paints tend to collect more water, more dust, and so the staining is more prevalent on that. By using a higher sheen, satin or semi-gloss finish in bathrooms, that gloss-like finish helps repel moisture a little bit better. It's also easier to clean. So there are certain things that we will typically recommend when we repaint the bathroom or ceilings in kitchens, walls, surrounding a sink. But those moisture stains don't always result in drywall damage. Drywall damage or drywall and plaster typically is a result of consistent moisture. Drywall it's like a chalk. If you take a chalk stick and dunk it in water, the rigidity of that chalk stick is still there. Structurally, it's not damaged in any way, but if you take a chalk stick and submerge it in water for a longer period of time, it'll become mush, right? It flakes off. You could crush it under your fingers. Same thing with drywall. If it's under consistent moisture, eventually that it's going to break down and just lose its rigidity. So in those scenarios, we would recommend removing that section of drywall, putting something new in its place, and then refinishing it to match.
Yeah, and I mean, a testament to you, you didn't take out it's actually plaster that was damaged. My son and his buddy took out plaster so they could put a shower in my bathroom, and you fixed it. Like, you can't even see it. And same with my ceiling that must have been water damage at one point. Yeah. And did you take a picture of that?
Yeah, I think I have some before and afters. Yeah.
I mean, you can't
in your bathroom or in your office?
in my office. Sorry, we jumped to my office. Now, he put drywall in where it was missing.
Yep, the big old chunk.
Yep,
that was hidden by a bulletin board.
Actually, no, I don't think. Maybe it was.
That's pretty common. Pictures are a good thing to uncover hidden gems.
Yeah, it's great. It works well.
And you fixed my ceiling without even removing that plaster. I mean, you can't even see it. In my office looks completely different. I mean, you guys did an amazing job.
Thank you.
And we'll put the pictures up here as well because it was quite the transformation.
Well, and the wall behind us too. That was also from 360. Yep. We had like metal letters on the wall, and then we took them down. It took part of the wall with it. So we created quite the project for Nick and his crew to
that was a fun one.
All of the holes in our wall and then paint it. So that was a challenging one, I'm sure, because it was not pretty when those numbers, because they were very well stuck on the wall.
Yes.
I've seen some pretty horrendous drywall repairs in my day. And so, I mean, our objective is always to make the repair look like it never happened, right? I mean, no one wants to walk into a room and, their first thing that they see is some unsightly repair or damage or inconsistent texture, right? So our goal is always to make sure that the client is happy with a consistent texture, consistent finish, and making that, I had the same thing in my house. I had a lateral backup damage in my basement bathroom and laundry room, and all of it had to come out 2 feet up off the floor, and the whole air drying holes drilled by the water mitigation company, and that was unsightly for a while. The most rewarding part of our job is making that look like it never happened, because you don't want to have to re-drywall a whole room if that's something like that happens.
Right.
That's not cost effective, and it's easier if we can get it done in a manner that makes it look like that never happens. That's always our ultimate goal.
So you can mimic the texture pattern that's already on the wall?
Yeah. There's obviously varying levels of textures, sand textures, and orange peels, and knockdown textures. There's methods that we have to make that look like it was original.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, you have to stop and see my home office now. You can't even tell it was there.
That's amazing.
I couldn't even find it.
The fun ones are the older swirl ceilings where it's a really patterned, almost mosaic of texture on the ceiling. Those are always fun to try to duplicate. But
yeah, for sure. But you do you guys offer drywall repair services or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Full drywall installation, from a new construction perspective, or renovation, remodel. We've done a lot of basement addition, renovations where we put up all brand new drywall. But a lot of our business, especially with the weather, and sometimes it's just an accident, right? Somebody had a client a month ago over the winter, they left their outside water spigot on, and eventually, that froze. Water spigots should always have a shutoff inside the home.
Oops.
If they don't, sometimes you leave it on and don't drain that line out, or the water has nowhere to go, that freezes, expands, and it blows the pipe. Well, when things thaw out, that water, thaws, and then it's a, straight shot, 60 psi of water from the city, right into your basement or kitchen or, wherever that line might be. And yeah, it's, once all of that stuff, insulation has to be torn out, and drywall has to be torn out, flooring if it's submerged. So it can be a pretty big project. But yeah, we do a lot of drywall repair post water damage. We do drywall, popcorn ceilings is a big one for us. People want to have those removed. And
I don't know why.
Yeah, it's such a nice texture.
Yeah, it looks great.
But so we do varying levels of removal for that. Sometimes it makes sense to knock that down and re-drywall the ceiling over the top of it, or if it can be removed in a safe manner. That popcorn ceilings can also contain their own demons, right? Some popcorn, depending on the time period, could be asbestos. So that's something that we're always aware of. And when we remove it, have it tested before we go too far, and then take the necessary precautions for that as well.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Asbestos is also very toxic.
Yeah. That's a whole nother animal in itself.
Yeah.
And obviously you do, the painting outside. What if somebody wanted to paint their brick house to make it look like a whitewash brick?
It has been I would say there's a lot of time spent on TikTok and Pinterest with whitewashing.
It has its moments, that's for sure.
Yes, we certainly entertain those types of projects. It really depends on the substrate, whether or not I would recommend that. A lot of exterior brick has porosity to it that is meant to be a texture or kind of a decorative finish on the outside. The problem with whitewashing is really kind of a thin film that you're putting on that. Whitewashing was originally popular by like a plaster technique that you would put over the top of the brick and then wipe it down. Plaster is like a cement compound, not necessarily, but very similar to that. Trying to simulate that with a paint, paint is inherently bad at if there's porosity in the paint, moisture can get in there, and moisture is paint's number one failure. So anytime you have a painted surface, the reliability of that paint is only as good as the consistency across the surface. So pinholes, pockets of, gaps where you could get moisture into that, ultimately that's going to lead to the failure of the paint. Paint is held on by adhesive. Adhesive is soaked in water, doesn't adhere very well, right? So we try to, in order to create a reliable surface, make sure that there are no missed joints, open pockets where water can collect. And ultimately that, with a brick, if you're allowing those types of areas to remain unsealed or uncovered, that's going to result in a failed painting. So there are products out there. We paint a lot of brick homes, but our goal is to paint a solid surface and make sure that there are no pinholes where moisture can collect. And the product, depending on the products that we use, there are set standards. The one that we like to use the most is Sherwin-Williams Luxon paint. It's specifically formulated for masonry and brick.
Really?
But we have to adhere to certain, you can't have pinholes and pockets where water can collect. Because ultimately that would result in a failed warranty of that product and a failed warranty on our installation of that product. So I would love to paint the brick.
There's more involved in just painting the brick.
That's fine. I won't
On the
paint
home
it.
that you're referring to?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I guess I won't paint it because by the time I actually get around to having it painted, it'll then really be out of style.
For sure.
I'll be calling you back to say, now how do I get this
Can you erase it? Where's the erase button? Undo.
And that on that style of brick, going backwards is very, very difficult.
I mean, I had you guys paint my bathroom too, because my son-in-law redid my bathroom and then my job was to paint it. I made a little bit of a boo-boo, which you fixed, and it looks amazing.
You're really good at painting the ceiling.
I'm good at, I am okay at painting. I do decent.
Nick, what do you think?
I agree with your assessment. Okay.
Yes, see?
You get a C plus.
But
C maybe.
C? Oh, that's because you paint the ceiling.
Yeah, there's so many different tips, techniques, tools.
I don't use tools.
You can't.
Clearly.
There's, the painting is intricate in the fact that, like, depending on the brush you use, cut-in lines it's always fun. I mean, I think a perfect cut-in line is a pinnacle of our industry, right? Like, when you see paint on the ceiling or paint on the trim work, you're like, oh, who painted this?
Bridget.
So it's always like, obviously we strive for that perfect scenario where all the cut-in lines are straight, and sometimes that's challenging with different textures and how the texture was applied in the house. But
older homes too aren't very level either, so it's hard to.
Yeah, drywall. If the drywall ceiling doesn't meet the drywall wall at a perfect 90-degree angle, it's sometimes challenging to make that look just right. But we've got our methods.
I like watching TikTok videos of painters doing the cut-in lines. I enjoy watching that because I have OCD.
You're not the only one. I have clients tell us all the time, like, oh my God, watching him cut that line in.
I wanted to watch you guys paint this wall, and you conveniently did it when I wasn't here, so I wouldn't sit here and gawk at them painting the cut-in lines.
Yeah,
I just enjoy watching that.
I was going to say that was probably
they were intentionally here when I was in a meeting. They knew I wasn't going to be here.
That was a smart move. Very smart move.
Yeah, sometimes it's challenging. You have like a cup of coffees and a Monster or two, and trying to do a cut-in line is a little bit challenging. But especially if people are watching you do it.
No pressure. No pressure. Well, next time it's wear a GoPro, and then we can watch you do it.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll watch you from our computer.
I'll have to talk to Lauren about setting up a GoPro.
Yeah, that'd be great. People like watching, that stuff is...
in-process videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
sure.
That
has clean, crisp lines. I love it.
The video, like, as a business, we started doing a lot more before and after pictures and then before and after videos, and it's so rewarding seeing like what a different color. And I always tell clients, they're like, well, what's most popular? And it's like, I could tell you what's most popular, but unless that popular color speaks to you, and that sounds really cliche, but
it's true. If you don't like that color, like it could be red right now. I hate the color red.
And people see colors differently, right? So what is popular with everybody isn't necessarily going to be the one that you love the most. And unless you love it, it's not going to be as rewarding as if you pick that perfect color and it's exactly what you imagined, right? One of the most rewarding stories of a paint project that we worked on was a newer home built 5 years ago, had just vanilla walls and ceilings and no sheen, just a sprayed on texture, nothing ornate about it. But client says, I can't live in this anymore. This is just too plain Jane. It looks like, I feel like I'm in a clinic. And so, like, okay, well, we don't have to do like a different color in every room, but I still heavily believe in accent walls. I know a lot of people,
I think
interior
it's a hit
design,
and miss kind of thing if they like them now.
a lot of interior designers say that's out, but it's a nice way to add a touch of color, a color that's meaningful to you or the family, and then if it changes, you're not repainting a whole room. You're painting that one wall.
Right.
Yep.
You know, so it's accent walls with wallpapers is really popular in new construction, and it's a great way to add some character to you know, a wall that might be just kind of in the middle of nowhere, or you know, out on an island where you don't really can't decorate it, or you know, there's not enough room to put in decorations. So it's nice to accent that area and make it stand out, and that's the really fun part. But this client picked out those colors that were meaningful to her, and um, she suffered from seasonal depression. And when she said, she's like, after the paint job was done, and she would get up in the morning and see that wall, she's like, it just, she's like, something brighter about it that just brought me into the day.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of strategic walls throughout the house that she picked out colors for. And she's like, it just changed the whole mood in my house. And that ultimately was like what
That's
this is all about. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Bringing that light to her, you know, in some of those darker times is just amazing.
And you wouldn't think that paint does that, but
it can play with your moods too. The wrong color can really, it can make you depressed. It can make you happy. Colors really play. I know we've had Lauren talked about that a couple of times, like with Murphy, and how colors make a really big difference.
Yeah.
And people don't think of that.
And it can change a whole space.
Yeah.
You know, like you doing black ceilings in a room or changing accents.
I want her to have a black ceiling in her bedroom because I thought it would have looked very moody. Get some like little accent lights.
And color drenching is really popular now too. You know, walls, ceilings, all one color, and the trim the same color but just different sheen gives it a nice accent. Those are all really fun projects, and again, that color, when clients are drawn to that, they enter that room with a certain mood or
that's true.
a certain feeling, and that's the best part about it, is being able to introduce that,
right?
You know, and have that consistent look.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely attest to that. I mean, my office, I hated going in my home office because, well, it was messy, but because I didn't care, because I didn't like the color. There was a hole in the drywall or plastered. My ceiling looked like crap, so I didn't care going there. But you came in, you redid it. I told you that kind of the colors I was thinking, and then you just put a little bit of a twist on it. Absolutely love it. I love now correct me, it's like a beige, right? Is it a beige or?
Yeah, balanced beige, a color from Sherwin-Williams.
Awesome. And then I got the accent wall in navy blue, what I wanted, but then you said, how about this one instead? Oh my God. Now I'm just bummed that I didn't paint the whole entire office that color.
Right.
But it'd be too dark. But I mean, I'm in love with that color. Like, I want to start putting that in every room.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't.
And every room is different, right? Because it depends on, does the room have natural light coming in? Does it have, you know, enough lighting in general for that room? So it really, I think one of the things I enjoy most is meeting with clients and like, hey, what is your idea for this room? And then talking through what ramifications that might have, or here's a better way to do that in case you don't like it. How do we make it cost effective to change it if necessary? So, you know, sometimes I think one of the biggest challenges my clients have is seeing a color and seeing that color in their space. And we have options to help with that as well.
Okay, do you have like a 3D model you can kind of do for people?
There's visualizers that are out there that we can utilize to help customers visualize interior or exterior, right? We've done a lot of customer visualizations because painting your house can be a very expensive thing that you don't want to have to do twice. From a 10,000 foot or street view, we can show you what that color might look like on your house and whether or not that's really what you're after. And interior too. We can take a picture of a room and help you visualize what that color is going to look like. it's not going to be 100% accurate, right?
But still better than one swatch on the
Right,
wall.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I always tell clients if you're going to, you know, do sample colors and try to pick it out, I would paint it on like a sample piece. Don't paint it on the wall, because if you paint it on the wall, when we come back and paint it with the real color, those areas could still uh, bleed through or create a sheen
Oh.
difference
Mm.
from, you know, what you're ultimately looking for. So when clients paint swatches on the wall, sometimes we have to come in and prime it so that that color
We
doesn't
hide it, yeah.
And so it can result in more work. There are test patches that are like a sticky back that you can stick on the wall,
Oh.
paint that patch, and get a better visual of what it looks like.
Mhm.
I also tell clients, you know, Home Depot sells little squares of
Mhm.
drywall. Sometimes it makes sense to just paint that, get a consistent finish on that, and then stick that on the wall.
Mhm.
I think those test panels are like a couple bucks.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
not expensive, but ultimately it'll help you visualize a bigger area on the wall without having to paint it on the wall.
That makes sense. That's a good idea.
And sometimes, you know, we do that too. If there's a color that the client isn't 100%
Mhm.
sure about, we'll paint part of the wall and then step back and say, oh, is this what you're looking for? And a lot of times if we go through those other less costly measures like visualizers and test patches and stuff, they can get a better idea of what that looks like before we go to that. But if ultimately the room is varying angles, varying lighting, the only way to get a really good visual of what that is to actually paint the wall. I never want to leave a client saying,
I regret doing this. Yeah.
that's not what I was looking for.
Right.
You know, even if it's, you know, we had a client last year, we painted the brick on their home.
Not you.
I know, not me.
And ultimately that color wasn't exactly what they had in mind for, it had just shades of blue in it that they were not, that's not the image that they were chasing. So we worked with them, found a different color and repainted it. Especially on the outside of your home, I would never walk away from a project like that not knowing that you're 100% satisfied. And we have 100% customer guarantee that we're not walking away from that until you're happy with it. So I would never leave somebody with that saying I regret.
Well, it's your
doing
name
that.
out there too, so.
Well, and ultimately it's the customer experience that means the most. Like in my own home, right? If I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the last thing people think about. Like, oh, I should have never painted that color.
Mhm.
Let's pick another color. That's the
Right.
greatest thing about paint.
Right.
Is
You have
let's-
unlimited colors.
Yeah.
You have unlimited. There's
and
whatever
there's
color you want, you can make it.
yeah, and there's, I mean, probably the worst color we've painted is a highlighter pink, but you know, not to mention any names out there. It's that is the hardest part. There's like over 3,000 different color options, and every paint manufacturer has their own variant of
Mhm.
that color, so it's pretty hard. But the greatest thing is having a customer say, yes, this is the color, and then implementing that and saying, yeah, that's exactly what I imagined this to be. So yeah, I mean that's the ultimate reward right there, is having them stand back and be like, yes, this is exactly what I imagined. Everything's flawless.
Yeah. I didn't say, wow, that's everything I imagined, because it was more than what I thought it was going to be.
It was, you didn't realize what you didn't want until it was already in front of you.
It was a pretty dramatic pause though, because I was like, hey, are you happy with everything? She's like, no. I wish I would have done the whole room. And I was like, oh my God.
Way to be dramatic. way to hope for drama.
No, that's not why I paused, because I was just like, holy cow, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, oh, why didn't I do the whole room? I mean, granted, if I would have
It would
done
have
it,
been too dark.
it would have been too much. But yeah, I am in love with my home office now. Like, I absolutely love it. So it, you know, and honestly, I hate painting.
I love painting.
I don't. And even though you're giving me a C, I know I'm a D- in painting. But I would
You
rather
have good intentions.
I do. I mean, and it takes them like all day
It
and
painting's
maybe
a lot of work.
two. And I'm like, I don't know what takes them so long. I can get it done in no time. But
Yeah, I've seen the quality of your work.
not bad. But I mean, heck, I would rather hire a professional
Yeah, for sure.
to do it because I don't ever want to paint again. And now I see what good painting looks like.
Yeah. If at some point I mean, because we have vaulted ceilings in our house, and because at our old house we painted the whole thing. Well, I did because I enjoy it, but we have, I think it's 12-foot ceilings or 15-foot ceilings. I'm not going up there. That's when you call the professionals to go up there because like, I'm not painting that. That's way too much.
For
Do you
sure.
guys are you a roller and paintbrush? Or you guys also use like
Sprayers.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually had a client last week that had a really heavy popcorn ceiling texture, and the minute we started rolling it, like popcorn started coming down.
Oh.
And so it was like, at that point, we were like, okay, it's kind of a susceptible area. Like we're not gonna, the amount of pressure and, you know, I guess the amount of paint we'd have to get in it to get all of those little crevices, we were like, no, let's stop this. And we sprayed the whole, we sprayed the wall, sprayed the ceiling, but that requires a lot more preparation, right? Everything has to be covered.
Yeah.
The nice thing about this particular client is we were also replacing the floors in that area afterwards. So
go ham.
well, we knew that the requirement for covering all of that wasn't an absolute need. We still did because that's just not how we want to approach it. I don't like the idea of, it's getting repaired, or replaced. We just don't care. That's not who we are. But
that's me.
it's a thing of like, okay, well, if there is an instance, ultimately we're going to be taking care of the rest of it anyway. So, but yeah, we would spray inside. We typically always spray outside unless there's some instance where we can't, high winds and stuff like that. But the majority of our interior stuff, if it's a live-in home, is all brush and roll.
Okay.
My wife's gonna kill me for this, but when we were painting our main level bathroom, she's like, "Well, I want to paint it." Okay. I came home from work and she had the ladder set up straddling the tub.
That sounds safe.
And as she was painting the ceiling, she decided to, she's painting the cut-ins on the ceiling, not paying attention to the paint bucket she had in her hand.
Oh no.
And dumped, I don't know, probably a quart of paint in the tub.
Oh.
So, I mean, it landed in a good spot. It was easy to clean up.
Right, of course, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, especially in high height situations like that, it can be tricky getting a ladder in your home without breaking anything. Moving the ladder around can be difficult. And then obviously working at heights, it can be strenuous being up at that elevation in your home above all your furniture.
I have a harder time trying to clean the ceiling fan up there. I get enough anxiety. I don't need to paintbrush and paint in my hand to add to that.
Sometimes a $3,000 interior paint job is worth it if it saves you a $5,000 trip to the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
Fact.
Looking at it that way. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes finding professionals is the smart way to go.
Or sometimes it's just easier. And
right.
It's done and you don't have to worry about it. So.
Yeah.
Well, and I love consulting with clients with a paint project because there are things that I can recommend, and it ultimately, if we're not selected, that's fine. It's got to be a right fit for both. But I will always take the time to meet with the client and say, hey, these would be the best products for this particular project. This is what I would recommend. Not everyone always realizes unless they ask a professional or consult with Sherwin-Williams or Holman Lindsay rep about what paint to use in a specific area. But it's like, this is what I would recommend for this area. These are the quantities that you would estimate. I would always share that information with you, regardless of whether or not we're selected for the job. But we do get into some pretty unique applications, and we're going to be painting inside of a tower shower surround next week. Previous clients had painted it, obviously to probably cover up some, blemishes or whatever. Yeah. The first thing we did was consult with Sherwin-Williams. I'm like, hey, what would you recommend for this product or project? And, working off of that application and having their backing to proceed with that project is really what it results in. And not every homeowner is going to take the time to do that.
Right.
And, that's where my connections with our paint suppliers help me pick up the proper product for the project and then relay that back to the client. Because ultimately, if we're doing it or the homeowner's doing it, like, I want to stand behind the fact that like that was the right product or the right application. Should anyone have ever painted the shower surround? Probably not. But
right.
It's where you are, and obviously they want to make it right for the next homeowner or their current family, and that's where we come in.
Speaking of your wife, oh my gosh, she is so sweet. She is the sweetest. Now I take it, what is her role in the company?
Yeah, so my wife helps a lot with scheduling. With me being driving around, supporting our operations and sales and evaluating jobs. She is crucial in helping clients get a hold of us, get on the schedule. She does a lot of admin work for us as far as like invoicing and, just making sure our clients, when they call, they have somebody to talk to. We also have a 24-hour customer call line, so there's never really an opportunity where someone will try to reach us and they can't get a hold of us. That's a common complaint with a lot of home service industries, right? I tried calling and they never called me back, or that's not our MO. Our business is specifically set up for that reason. Because that's the most frustrating thing for me. If I try to get a contractor to do work on my home for me, it's like I want to give business to somebody. Call me back, right? So we've kind of geared towards that never being the situation. If the client calls and they don't reach her, they don't reach me, they'll reach our customer service line and they will take down the information. And if they can set up an appointment at that time, or if there's technical details that client's looking for, like they forward that to me or get a follow-up appointment scheduled.
I mean, that's good to know because, that is a common complaint is
across the industry as a whole.
I
feel.
They never call me back or they don't ever answer their phone. So, I mean, it's great that she's there, to do that. And then you've got that backup with that customer service line. So definitely great.
I think this has been fun.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, ladies.
And if anybody is looking for drywall or painting services, you can reach out to Nick at 360 Painting. We'll have all of his information below.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.